here for Extreme Terrain, and today I'm taking a look at the Flowmaster Delta Force Cold Air Intake with Snorkel fitting 2020 and newer 3.6 liter Gladiators. Whether it's the look or the performance that you're after, both come included with this intake and snorkel setup from Flowmaster. This one combines the best parts of a snorkel and an updated intake to help your JT breathe better, give it more water fording capabilities, and imbue it with a cool look. And it does it all for less than buying these pieces separately. This is a pretty cool setup, I have to admit, and we've got a lot to discuss here, but let's start with that snorkel. If you're planning on hitting the trails, fording rivers, or even if you just want the cool look, this is gonna get you there. Overlanders will appreciate the ability to go anywhere at any time and not be stopped by a pesky body of water. Others might just appreciate the cool look, and that's okay too. Having the snorkel makes the JT look more aggressive, yes, but when form and function go hand in hand, we like that even more. Now, bringing the actual air inlet all the way up high means that should you find yourself needing to ford a river or cross some other kind of water feature, you're much less likely to flood the engine. Now, that's not to say that this is gonna turn your Gladiator into a submarine, so don't think about that, but it is gonna up the level of capability pretty significantly because it moves that inlet point way up to the top of your windshield. And you get a protective honeycomb screen at the top as well to keep any debris out of the intake system. And that snorkel is also designed to hug the A-pillar closely, leaving space for light bar brackets should you have those or want to add them later. And it also feeds the intake directly. Now, this is a closed box intake, so it's going to shield the filter from the heat of your engine bay. It's also watertight, meaning that you can put that snorkel to use without fear of drowning your engine. Now, the top of the box does have a clear lid, which is going to look cool, and it gives you the ability to check on the condition of the filter without having to disassemble anything or break that seal. Speaking of that filter, this setup includes an oiled filter. It's a high flow one and has a lot more surface area than what comes standard on your truck. Oiled filters are also excellent for this sort of off-roading application, as the oil on the surface of the filter does an even better job of keeping out dirt and small debris that a dry filter might otherwise let through. Now, oiled filters also have a very long lifespan, and as long as you keep them cleaned and oiled properly, they should last you a heck of a long time. So you don't have to worry about replacing the filter, you can just clean it out, re-oil it, and you're set for a while again. That larger surface area also means more airflow, which of course means more power. Now, we're not talking about huge power increases here, and this one does not require you to do a tune on your truck. However, you might feel a little bit of extra oomph behind the wheel once you've got it installed. Now, all of that additional dry, clean air is then fed into the engine through a high flow intake tube. That tube is lightweight, it's smooth, and it's designed for maximum airflow. Now, the whole setup is going to make some additional sound too, and personally, I'm a big fan of intake noise. These tend to be quieter at small throttle applications, especially when you're just kind of puttering around town, but they open up and really get rocking once you lay into the throttle. Now, it's also worth noting again that this intake does not require you to get a tune. You can just bolt it on and go. However, as I mentioned a few moments ago, if you want to make the most out of your intake and exhaust setup, the tune is going to help you maximize those gains. Now, the snorkel, airbox, and air intake tube are all made from a cross-linked polyethylene, which is lightweight, it's durable, and it's plenty strong for this application. Everything is also designed to be watertight as well. The airbox and all the connections utilize stainless steel hardware, black anodized fittings, and reinforced silicone couplers. So that means that no matter where you are or what you do with it, it's going to keep that water out, which is exactly the point of a setup like this. The airbox also utilizes factory-style mounting brackets, so minimal modifications are needed to get this installed. In fact, the only modification you're going to need to make is a hole for that snorkel, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And as we discussed earlier too, the filter is a large oil designed for the best possible filtering and longest life. Pricing comes in at about $775, and that does put it at the top of the category price-wise when you're comparing it to other cold air intake setups. However, this is a high-quality intake and a snorkel all in one, and it's designed to work as a package right there out of the box. So from that perspective, you are getting a lot for your money here, and if you want to get both, this is going to save you a little bit versus buying them separately and having to deal with matching them up. So if you want to get a snorkel and a cold air intake, this is a great way to do it because you know that they're going to fit together and they're going to work properly right there out of the gate. All you got to do is follow the installation guide. Speaking of which, it's time to finally talk about installation. We're going to give this one a 3 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and it should take you about 3 hours to complete. Now, the reason for that high rating is that you are going to have to cut into your fender in order to fit that snorkel and make it functional. A template is included in the box for you to make measuring easy, but you're still going to need to make that cut. So if that's not something you're comfortable doing at home, You can always farm it out to a professional. Again, everything is right there though, so if you've got the metal and want to do it, go ahead and make that cut, just follow the template. From that point on, the rest of the installation is straightforward, and that cut is the only modification you're gonna need to make. So with that, why don't we go ahead and hand it over to one of our XT customers who's gonna walk you through that process, maybe make you feel a little bit better about cutting a hole into your own Jeep.
So basically all you need is an 1/8 inch drill, some Teflon tape, a blowdown nozzle, need a 8mm nut driver or an 8mm wrench, small standard screwdriver, a utility knife, just a trim removal tool, a pair of pliers or channel locks, 4mm Allen, the T-handle, and a regular L because there is a clearance problem, so you won't be able to get it with this. Just a set of side cutters for cutting our zip ties when we're done, either a ratchet, air ratchet, whatever you want to use, and a 10mm socket and a 3-inch extension, and then we got a 13/16 wrench just to put our PVC boss in. I just want to go over the tools we needed for the hood cut portion of the install. There's a body saw, air powered, works best for me. I don't know of anything else that would work better for the job. It was my first thought when I went to do the job. I got an 1/8 inch drill bit and a power drill for rivets, a blind rivet tool, just a regular utility blade, some masking tape, some alcohol, and a microfiber. What I want to show you, and I do have an air powered carbide deburring tool, which made life a lot easier. So today we're going to be installing our Delta Force cold air snorkel intake on my 2021 Jeep Gladiator. Folks over at Extreme Terrain got me set up with this. I'm super excited about it. I've been waiting a minute for it to grab this thing and finally get it ready to go. All right, we're gonna prop the hood. Gonna go in right on the plenum here. There's two 10mm bolts. We'll go ahead and remove. Then we're going to disconnect the PVC line, which on the back side just above your alternator, just a little gray retainer. Should be able to push it in and slide that right off, like so. This is that PVC retainer here, just a little gray clamp. As you push on it, it'll disengage and it'll slide off. So you just push down on the gray clamp and this will slide right off of this fitting. And right here on the front is an air temperature sensor, and that's just a little, it's got a little tab on it. You push that tab in and it'll slide right off. Take a pair of cutters. You should be able to pry these little retainers right up and out of the resonator box. So I don't cut them, I'm just going under them and prying them right up and out of there. Like so. I'll put that aside. I'm going to use an 8mm nut driver to loosen the clamp here and the plenum to throttle body connection. Once I do that, I should be able to just pry that hose right away. So that'll pry right away from the throttle body. Then you can just grab the whole airbox assembly gently. Make sure everything's out of the way. Make sure nothing's clamped. Now we have another clamp here. Holds that to the resonator box. Just a little zip tie. Get rid of that. Now, it should lift freely. There's one more intake bolt on the back side on the open end of the plenum. Choose your 10mm. Everything's disconnected. You should be able to pry up on this box. It should pop right out. Little rubber grommets that are down in the frame here.
that go into these two little holes. So when you go to pull up on that box, that's going to give you the most resistance right there. So I just kind of wiggle it a little bit, it pops right out. So now that whole factory plenum assembly is gone with the airbox, the foil, right up to the throttle body. Okay, when we pulled out the factory box, we turned it upside down. It's the factory airbox here, plenum going out. There's two rubber grommets that fit over these barb fittings. Just grab those off, taking those rubber grommets and pushing them right back down in those bracket holes under the old plenum box. Now that we removed the plenum assembly, there's a little, that air temperature sensor that we disconnected. There's a little locking tab there. If you gently pry it up a tiny, tiny bit and gently take a pair of just pliers, grab it, you can turn it a quarter turn counterclockwise and you can wiggle that out. Okay, see the O-ring on there? Make sure that's intact when you take it out. All right, now we'll begin assembly of the new airbox. I got the airbox filter adapter, the airbox. I've got the filter adapter gasket, and I've got 3 of these 4mm Allen head screws with lock washer and flat washer. So we'll just go ahead, get the gasket in place on there. Go from the inside. Place it in, lining up the holes. One in. 2 in place. A 3rd in place. Just making sure, like I said, that gasket remains flat in there. So all you really have to do, make sure it seals. If you want, you can put a little Vaseline on that gasket, and that will help hold it in place while you temporarily hold it in place while you get everything lined up. See, my gasket's solid. I'll show you in a second. And I'm going to tighten these screws down nice. I can feel the gasket all the way around. Just snug these down. And again, we're just basically squeezing that gasket down so it doesn't take a tremendous amount of force. You'll feel as you meet resistance, just give it a tiny bit of a quarter turn, and that will sandwich that gasket down inside the box. As you can see, that gasket is sandwiched all the way around. If you run your fingers around, you can feel it all the way through. It should be protruding, and that means that you've got a good seal on the box. Now we have 2 barbed pins that came in the kit. They'll be in the hardware bag. There's 2 of these. We got a thread insert in them, and the U-bracket. This will go on the bottom of the box. And these fittings will go into those rubber grommets that are still the original OEM factory pieces. So we're going to take these 2, and we're going to install them on each wing. Bolt, flat, lock washer, flat washer, and through the bracket. Just going to spin these barbed fittings onto that. 4mm Allen. Snug them down nice and tight. Second one. Just take a rag and hold that fitting. This way you can get them nice and tight. Beautiful. So this is what your bracket should look like when you're done. That goes directly on the bottom of the box. And again, 2 more of the 4mm in the box. The lock washer, flat washer. Snug those down. Alright, so we've assembled our air box. We've got our bracket, got our air filter adapter, cone goes in, gasket's in place, everything's locked down solid. Alright, now I'll be installing the grate onto this top of the snorkel. If you notice on the grate, it's kind of angled fit. it'll only fit onto the snorkel one way, okay? So all these 4 tabs go to the outside of the snorkel. You got 10 pop rivets or blind rivets as you call them. They came with the kit, and we're gonna go through and we're gonna do all these in. So first thing we'll do is we'll place it on. I'm gonna use an 1/8" drill bit. Hand it up the burr, make sure there's nothing there. Use a rivet tool before you're going to open the handle. The rivet will go right into the end. And insert that into the hole we just drilled, making sure all 4 tabs are on the outside of that snorkel. I'm going to go ahead and install that one side. Flip it over. Do the same for the opposite. Put it in tight. Drill, clean up the burrs, grab another rivet, holding it tight. Middle one being the most. Burrs. Alright, I'm just going to go in now and finish all the rest of the holes, filling those in, drilling and riveting. Okay, we've completely installed the protective grate at the top of the snorkel opening. I'm just going to take a little air, blow it in there, blow out any of the debris we made drilling the holes and putting those blind rivets in. Now we're going to go ahead and install the box to snorkel gasket and the air box. All right, the box to snorkel gasket will go obviously between the 2 pieces, and the screws will go in from the inside of the box down onto the snorkel. All right, to bolt these 2 together, it's going to require 10 of the 4mm screw lock washer, flat washer assemblies. Like again, place the gasket in place. It only fits one way, therefore the box will only fit one way also. We're just going to go ahead and overlay that carefully. We're going to go in and we're going to start indexing each screw using the gasket. And just get in there finger tight for now. So we keep our gasket in place. Put one on each of the 4 sides. Thus far, the most difficult part of this assembly has been putting the 10 screws to attach the air box itself to the snorkel plenum. There's a gasket in between. The best way I found is to do the top 3 first. So the face here, cover face, put those first 3 in, get them started, then work your way around, slowly. Take your time. It's just tedious because of the angles. So do the sides, front and rear, fore and aft, and then the last 3 will be the inboard down bottom ones. So we're all assembled. We got the air box solid sealed. All right, so we've got our new plenum, okay, and on the Flowmaster end of it, I grabbed the grommet, rubber grommet out of the kit, and all we're going to do is slowly work that into that hole. If you just work your way around, it should go right in. You'll wiggle and jiggle in. Should grab up just nice. If you have to, they say you could put a little soap on it. Sometimes that helps. So, I don't know if you can see that very well, but inside, make sure it's seated all the way around. Outside, make sure it's seated all around. And then our air temperature sensor that we took out before from the factory, that's just going to gently slide in there and get it just to where the O-ring is in there. It will not go all the way in, and it does say that right on the directions. And I'll just keep twisting it until I get it where I want it. That O-ring is just about in there. It should sit like that. Okay. So it's close enough. The O-ring's not quite all the way in, but it's in there snug. No water's gonna get into that. Okay. Next I grabbed the PCV Boss out of the kit, and they said take a little Teflon tape. It didn't come in the kit, so I have some readily lying around. Most people have it if you have a garage, if you do anything around the house. It's usually 3 wraps to be safe. Break it off. Pick up that new plenum, and we're going to thread that in gently into the threaded Boss. Alright, once it's down, just use a 13/16 wrench, and I can get that nice and snug. It doesn't have to be ridiculous tight, just snug. That Teflon tape will work to hold it in place. So. And that's it. That's assembled. Just be careful. Now that sensor's installed, you don't bang it around. Okay, the kit comes with 4 of these clamps. Okay. The largest one is going to go on the larger side of this one, obviously by fit. And that's what I did. I basically just indexed them. So that one fits there. Then we have what appears to be 1 smaller one and 2 of the same size. So the smallest one is going to save for this elbow, and then the 2 other ones are the ones we're going to go to now. So they're not opened all the way, so I just take my little 8mm nut driver. I'm going to open it the rest of the way so it fits over the gasket. So I know that works. Then I'm going to go to the Boss end of my plenum, so my PCV Boss, and I'm going to slide this over that. I'm just going to slide it over. There's like a little raised ridge on it. I'm just going to slide it over till we reach that. Loosen it up a little tiny bit more, and you should be able to walk it over the top of that rubber. Now, they don't want you to tighten any of the clamps yet, so that's going to slide right up over that. Now the other end of the Boss, you do the same. Okay, so you got a narrow end, and you got the big end. Again, loosen up your clamp a little bit. It has a little bit of play left in it. Drop that over, and again, we're working now on the temperature sensor side of it, and I try to index the screw. So this one is in place, should be faced up. So I try to index my clamp screws so they're up and I can get to them. Okay, once it's installed. So this piece will go on, and that should go till it stops. Loosen that clamp up a little bit more, and we'll slide that right over again, just like the other side. The last clamp will go here, and again, let's just get that so it's in place and ready to rock and roll. Okay, we've stepped up on the passenger side right now. We've got a 10mm socket. We're going to remove the first 2 that you see from the hinge side of the hood. We're going to remove the fender bolts. Our gasket, which was included in the kit, wipe the surface area clean. Good contact for that gasket. And we're just going to peel it back. We're going to index it over those holes. As close as possible. We'll just work out the air bubbles. If you work from the inside out, you should have a nice, clean, air bubble free application. Just keep working my way down to the fold. Nice clean gasket application there. And I'm going to take our bracket and install that over the gasket. Place our 2 factory screws back in. And this should just be finger tight at this time. 2 for the factory original. And there's already a hole pre-drilled and tapped. And this screw comes with the kit. That's your front mount bracket. And you're just gonna do the same thing. You thread that in finger tight. We're over to the passenger side A post where your grab handle is. We've opened the door. I have a little tool. These are handy. They're just trim removal tools. You can get them anywhere, any parts store. But we're just gonna take this and basically pop speaker cover up. Should have a clamp. Swing all the way in the back. And this will come off in one piece. These are the 4 clips, okay? Set that aside. Now we have more over here. We have one here, top. And you have one here, bottom, that just pop off and look like a flap. Inside there, you'll see some 10 millimeter bolts. So we've popped off our speaker cover. These are those little covers. And inside there, you can see there's a little 10 millimeter bolt hiding up in there and down in there. We're gonna remove those. Remove those 2 bolts. Up. Okay, remove 2 of these 10 millimeter bolts. Let's grab handle now. And this just popped off. This is the A-pillar. There's 2 little clips kind of in here, so it kind of holds it in place pretty tight. So just give it a little tug, it'll come free. A-pillar's off. We're going to take this gasket that came with the kit. It's got a little hole for indexing over the hole. It's going to be the bottom hole for the grab handle that you just removed. And just peel the paper back. I wouldn't peel it all the way off, just peel it back about halfway and fold it, like so. And we're gonna put that behind the harness. It's really sticky. And just get it aligned over that hole and let it hang like that. We're gonna take a razor knife and just go right where that gasket that we put in meets the rubber window gasket, and I'm gonna slice that gasket all the way through. So we've taken the gasket, put it over the hole, and then we basically sliced it right here where it meets this rubber and rolled it under a little bit. And we're gonna save this piece because this is gonna go on the outer after to protect that under the bracket. Okay, so here's what the bracket looks like. Okay, the hole here is index for the hole that goes to mount the grab handle. What I've done is I've made a small slit in the fold of this weather stripping. I know it's hard to appreciate. So this can fit through and it'll fit in there tight. Okay, and then that rubber will overlay it. I've re-clipped this, lined up the bracket, clip the handle with that little clip that I showed you. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and index the bottom screw. I can see in the hole and I can see that I'm going through the bracket, and that's probably the most important part right here is that happens. Thread it down and started. Taking the remainder of the gasket, so you have a small piece here, then a larger piece here. I'm gonna save the smaller piece for the door itself, but this larger piece I'm gonna go ahead and stick it right behind the bracket itself so it's not banging against the metal. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall these little covers in my grab rail and clip the speaker grill right back into those 4 little holes. Last little piece of gasket I've saved. Peel that off. Okay, and where the door shuts and meets that bracket, I'm gonna go ahead and put that onto the painted surface to protect it. From contact. So now when I shut that door, it's protected from contact with those little gaskets. We're ready to place the snorkel assembly and airbox assembly into the vehicle. So this goes in over, you can see the holes clearly indexed where the barb fittings are. If you stand to the driver's side here, the nose will right into our mounting bracket that we've mounted on the fenders. Again, this finger tight will do for now. And we're gonna grab 2 more to 3/8 nuts with or screws with a lock washer, flat washer, and we're gonna go ahead and get those started finger tight into the windshield bracket. All right, there's a threaded insert next to your antenna here. There's basically a ferrule that you can use to slide that over the antenna. And then 1 more of those 3/8 little screws with a lock washer and a flat washer. Just slide it down. Once I got that in for the antenna ferrule, I just cranked it down with a 4mm Allen wrench. So that's nice and tight and snug. Okay, I'm going to take the intake tube now, and I went ahead and indexed so I know I'm close with my elbow to throttle body angle and to the air box. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and slide the air box end on first. And then the throttle body end. It's all secure in place. This look good. I'm gonna spin this clamp around because I want to be able to get to all the clamps, like I said. So I think it should be snug all the way around. Okay, we're gonna center the intake tube between the 2 couplers so it looks nice and even. Everything's where it needs to be tight and snug against there. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start tightening the clamps. Throttle body. Elbow. Okay, now that that's all secured to the air box from the throttle body, we can go ahead and reconnect our PVC. Put that nice, and then it comes with this really nice harness. It's extension harness for your sensor, temperature sensor. It's just clip. Yeah, it's indexed, so it only goes one way, so it's nice and solid. And your other end, same thing. Check your indexing. And again, it's only going to go one way. And you'll hear that audible click. And what we're going to do is we're just going to secure, we'll clean up this harness, these old connectors we can get rid of, and I'm just going to use some zip ties to zip tie this down and out of the way. Okay, so basically, cold air box intake has all been installed at this point. You can go back now. We can tighten up all the hardware. So we tighten the clamps already on the plenum. We're just going to go back and tighten the bracket down to the body, and then the bracket to the box, the snorkel. Same thing at the windshield bracket. Just tighten that down too. Grab that filter assembly. Make sure you put the clamp where you can access it. We're going to drop it into the air box. And that's going to slide right over the adapter. I removed the protective plastic from the airbox cover, and I've placed the airbox gasket, which pretty much only fits one way, over the airbox mounting holes. Airbox cover, lay it over it, and we're going to install the remainder of the 4mm screws with lock washers and flat washers. Okay, we've installed all the screws here. Now we're just snugging them all down to seal the gasket. And again, just snug, doesn't have to be. You just put 400 foot-pounds of torque into them. It's just sealing the gasket to the cover, that's it. Okay, so I've actually gone back and cut the bottom edge and the back hood edge of my template. Let me line this up to get it straight and clean. Alright, so basically I'm going to use some masking tape to go around and tape this template down. So I've taped edge to edge here, the back hood edge, the edge of it. It all basically just goes to the edges of your hood, okay, as you go. This will give us an area to mark, and we fold this back up, which is right on this with a marker. So with your hood down, it should look pretty much in line with what we have here. Everything should look pretty much in place for when the cut happens, that it's going to fit right over. Okay, so I've marked it, I've removed the template. I got a bucket, something small to prop my hood up while I cut, because if you lay it down, there's just not enough room to work. So when we cut, I'm going to use a air body saw. I want to keep it as perpendicular to the surface as I can, nice and clean, because it's gonna, there's 2 layers of hood, so if you angle, you're gonna screw up the hole on the inside. So the trick is to get this even on both sides. That's probably the part that most people freak out about. So when I say easy, we're gonna cut, the first cut, we're gonna go inside, well inside of this line. I'm thinking probably about maybe a 1/4 inch, so I can adjust if I need to once I cut that hole, which is what the manufacturer recommends. Speed of the saw picked up as I got through that second layer, so now I'm in a single layer, so I'm going to be a bit more careful about not cutting the inside at the same time. Okay, one more we're going to go through and try and get through both layers this time. Okay, so we made our initial cut. We went to about a little more than a 1/4 inch in to avoid our actual cut line. And now we shut the hood again, and we could see that now is the time to make your adjustment. So I'd want to cut more toward the front than toward the back. So I might leave that where it is and take a little bit more off the front side. So I'm going to cut it just to that line and see how we lay there. And then we can make our next cuts after that. Okay, so we're starting to widen it out, trim it out a little bit. And we know if we take our outside ferrule, we can use it almost as a template to see exactly how much more we have to remove. There's not a lot, it's a tiny bit, but now we should be able to actually close the hood, as you can see. So we still got a little bit more here we're going to take off. This side looks good. So when we're on here, we definitely need it toward the front. So I'm going to take a little bit more off the front, a little bit more off the top. Okay, made another trim cut. Now, you see this almost fits like perfect. So, kind of sucks up in there. So I'm probably just going to trim, the width is perfect. Just going to trim the top tiny bit. And at the same time, I'll trim the back out. So the back will fit the same one. With the inner the same as the outer. Alright, so we finished making all those crazy cuts. Got the outer. Fits on there perfectly, hooks onto the lip. It is on there perfect. Okay, so we've made it. I like it. I'm going to check the inner fit. And that should be right on also. Nice tight snug to follow the contours of the hood, so it's good to go. Alright, now that I've got this outer barrel, or what you call gasket, to fit, I'm going to go ahead and tape it in place.
and then I can work on the inner. Okay, now we fit the inner gasket in there tight and snug. Should fit nice and tight and snug to the hood contours without moving the outer gasket. We are right on. So we're good for the install of the gaskets. Close the hood back down. Pull off the tape. And let's clean it up and get it ready. I'm just going to use a microfiber cloth, a little denatured alcohol to make sure we have all the oil and residues removed, both inside and outside. So now we take our body adhesive tape that comes with the kit, and I'll put the red side toward this, and what I'll do is I'll start the peel just a little bit. This stuff is super sticky. It's like a one-shot deal. So I'll get everything in place where I want it in there, nice and snug, and then I'll stick, and I will slowly peel and stick and work my way around. So this is exactly where I want it inside this mount for this ferrule gasket, they call it. So you just keep working your way around and bond it all in. That's it. So that's nice and taped in there. Okay, we peeled off all that paper and that. We are now ready to bond. So we're gonna go right on the bottom, tuck it in tight. Show how that is. And sun's gonna bake that right in the spot. So we got that in. Now we're gonna raise the hood. Now we're gonna get the inner done. And the last step is to carefully drill these holes. Rivet. Should be 4 total. Be careful you don't drill through. Get through the metal. Three. One last little step, and it's just this foam gasket. It's a peel and stick, and this is basically going to go right around the whole inside of that outer ferrule, and don't stretch it, just basically let it work. There's like a little rail there it kind of fits against, so just keep working your way around. Seal when it is shut. That's it. I'm just going to trim the excess off. Here's the hood.
That's going to wrap it up here for our review and install of the Flowmaster Delta Force cold air intake with snorkel, fitting 2020 and newer 3.6 liter Gladiators. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things Jeep, be sure to keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.